You're in Braves country. You're in Braves country.
Good morning, Hot Stove Braves country, folks. Just had a good college football pick'em show on the bowl games. If you missed that, it's over on Armchair Quarterbacks, Armchair QB Radio, so that'll be up for you if you want to see our picks. I know some folks probably forget that we're on that channel for football and this channel for baseball. We're trying to keep it separate. Hope y'all are having a good morning as we are a week away from Christmas. And that's not nothing. So we're looking forward to that. I hope y'all are looking forward to a good Christmas or whatever you celebrate. I hope you're going to have a good holiday season. And hopefully everything goes well in your neck of the woods. And I'm kind of curious for folks in the chat, are you done with your Christmas shopping, or is it still an issue? Are you still going, We're wait, did you say a week? We're only a week away? Amazon said it can't get here in time. I actually have to go out here amongst the humans and fight and argue. Okay, good to see you in the chat. Who do we have here this morning? Gary and Aswas and PETA. I think John's in here. He gave a hello at the end in the football chat, so he's probably in here somewhere. He might just be listening along, playing an incognito world for the... If he's at work, he's not trying to get banged in trouble. What is she saying? Peter says, I'm not shopping this year. You're not getting anybody anything? Bah humbug, you bastard. It's Christmas. You gotta get somebody something. We're having that issue with, well, I won't get into extended family that is poo-pooing on Christmas, and I'm not having it. I told them I'm not having it. We're gonna Feliz Navidad each other and ho, 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 and a Merry New Year and all that stuff. It's one of the best times of the year. And most people that know me know that I'm not overly religious, but I like the Christmas spirit. I like the holiday. I like everything. So Peter says we celebrate around me years. Your years. Who the hell? You sure do have a high opinion of yourself. All right. Unless that was supposed to be New Year's. Anyways, Let's go ahead and get into it as switching gears from football to baseball. Been so many things that have gone on in the world of baseball the last few days. Now, I know that we jumped on and we talked about all these signings when we got the Yaz. We got Hassan Kim the other night. You may not have been up for it, but it was a late signing. I want to say around 10 o'clock Eastern, but we still try to jump on if we can to break the news with you and react with you. I'm thrilled with the Braves are doing. We're going to get into the other teams that are out there and some of their needs, and the Braves still have some needs as well. Gotcha, Peter. That's what I kind of figured it was. All right. One of the things, so I'm just going to kind of rattle through the shopping list that has already taken place. That was kind of my lead in, is the fact, are you done with your shopping? Because the Braves have gotten ahead on their shopping. Now, their deadline's a lot further away than Christmas deadline, but it's really nice to have a lot of your pieces of the puzzle already solved before you ever hit Christmas, before you ever hit New Year's. Because when you get into January, that's when it's crunch time for Major League Baseball teams. You can still sign guys in February and March, but the way this offseason is laying out, especially because you're talking about a shorter offseason, a much shorter offseason, because of the World Baseball Classic. And with that being said, you know, you're talking about a situation where the offseason in Major League Baseball gets cut shorter by about a week or so, because, and for the pitchers that are actually going to pitch it in the World Baseball Classic, they kind of got to start getting ramped up in the very early February. Pitchers and catchers will report right after the Super Bowl, as always. But if you're going to pitch in that Classic, you're going to have to get ramped up a little bit. Now, most guys on the Major League level, if they're going to pitch in that World Baseball Classic, they're only pitching 1 to 2 innings. And there are very strict guidelines. We'll go over that when we get closer to the World Baseball Classic, because I don't think you're going to retain any of this. But basically, there are guidelines, there are rules that if you pitch in the World Baseball Classic, that, and it's the only way that the teams in the CBA would agree to it, that if a pitcher pitches, we'll say in a game today on a Wednesday and throws X amount of pitches, that means he can't pitch again for Y amount of days. And when he does come back, there can only be so many pitches off of that, et cetera, et cetera. So they're constantly monitoring that because it's earlier. So it prevents some overzealous manager from, you name the country, it doesn't matter, who doesn't give a crap about our Major League Baseball players, and they're out there trying to push some guy in early March, let's go 9 innings. Come on, Yamamoto, you can do it again. That's going to prevent all that. So I like it. I know there's a lot of people that push back on the World Baseball Classic. I don't get it. I think you're probably just a thief of joy. I know you can get nervous about a guy getting injured, but these guys get injured in spring training all the time. These guys get injured doing stupid things. I think it's fun for the game. It's a great way to continue to grow the game. And hell, it's a lot better than that NBA Cup crap nonsense that they're trying. There's breaking news. Who is it? Who's coming in? Nationals hire. Well, the Nationals hired their general manager, but that happened last night, so I don't know why that's still on breaking news. But anyways, we go back to what we were talking about. It's fun. If you haven't really watched the World Baseball Classic, we'll cover the games this year. I'm going to cover more games than I ever did in the past. And if you haven't consumed it before, I would strongly suggest jumping in here in the chat with us. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. And we're going to cover more than just the United States games, but obviously that will take precedent. And I'm actually taking some time off for work those weeks, excuse me, to be able, it's about a week, I think, because it gets ramped up at a certain part of March where they're playing double headers, et cetera. And so for me to be able to bring all the games, I took a few days off from work. But the reasoning B is because you're going to have weird times in these games too. I mean, realize you're going to wake up and World Baseball Classic's going to be going on. You're going to have games taking place in Japan and in Korea and whatnot that our time, talking about East Coast, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, because I've already looked at the numbers, at the times, at the first pitches, and I've already started to map a way forward for us to do the games. I'll start putting those in next calendar year, so early January, I'll start putting those in. But we're not going to overload you. What we're going to do is we're going to do them every 2 to 3 days. We're going to add new ones as it goes about. But I'm going to put the first few of them in so you have an idea of when they're starting, what time the games are, et cetera, et cetera. On that note, see if anybody's mentioned anything yet. I want to make sure we're yeah, I mean, that's what we do, Pete. Holidays are family. We used to do Christmas Eve. It used to be a big thing here with us. We used to have a bunch of the guys that were on the football show that all lived in the area and other friends. We used to have a get-together on Christmas Eve, and it was perfect. That was back when I worked with a lot of them in the restaurant business. And we closed the restaurants that we were working in pretty early on Christmas Eve. And then we would have them all come over to the house about 6, 7 o'clock, and we would do hors d'oeuvres and we would do drinks, and everybody have a good time. And we a lot of us got Christmas gifts for each other. We never did the white elephant or anything like that, but we always got little gifts for each other. And that was a lot of fun I'd say we did it for about 7 or 8 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. And Doug, you've seen Doug on the show, he would come over. But what ended up happening was that we all started going our separate ways work-wise, and then a couple of them got little rugrats, and they started taking the kids down to see the grandparents, all the normal stuff. And eventually got to the point where we're like, what the hell are we doing? So this year, I'm doing it with my family, immediate family. We're actually doing it much earlier. What we're going to do on Christmas Eve is we're going to get some booze together and some paint, and we're going to sit outside, listen to Christmas music, and paint these little. I'll show them to you when they're done. But we're going to have fun with basically arts and craft painting, and these are the things we're going to start putting out for Christmas time every year, showing what we've painted. And the idea is to be able to have something from everybody. They're little cheap little things we're going to be painting, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and everybody gets to hang out. The big thing is everybody hangs out, and if something looks like crap, we'll just throw it out. Who cares? On Christmas Eve, if you want to stop in and say hi to each other, I am going to start a stream that day. Probably, I think I have it at 3 o'clock. I might start a little earlier. I'll cut it off probably early Christmas Eve, so 7, 8 o'clock at night. But just probably, my guess would be I'm going to start it somewhere around noon. It'll run for about 6 or 7 hours. And it's going to be playing Christmas music. And it's just for y'all to be able to come in and say hi to each other. That's really all it is. To wish each other Merry Christmas if you want to or not. Or if you want to bah humbug everybody, whatever. But I've thought about doing it in the past, and we never really got it organized. Well, I got on the ball this year, and that's also when we're going to unveil to the public what the members can get today on the channel. Is 'Twas the Night Before Braves Country Christmas. Took a lot of time putting that together the last few days, both writing it and recording it and then turning it into a video. It took a lot of time. Some of it drove me bananas. Because if you haven't used AI before and you're trying to generate pictures, they don't always understand what you're trying to tell them, even though you'll tell them 7 or 8 times in a row. For those who know, I know Pete has used AI before. It'll drive you bananas sometimes. Sometimes you'll use it and it knows exactly what you're trying to do. Sometimes it'll do it and you'll go over and over again. And anyways, that was a lot of time consuming, but we're pretty proud of the project, and it's something that we're going to play on Christmas Eve. Now, to the public, it will be released Christmas Eve morning as its own little video, but we'll start the stream off on Christmas Eve with that video It's about a 5 or 6 minute video of "'Twas the Night Before Braves Country Christmas," and we'll probably end the stream with it as well, just so that if you haven't caught it, you know where to find it at the beginning and the end. In between, we're just going to play Christmas music so everybody can, toast the eggnog and everything like that. All right. Appreciate the kind words, as was. I just want to give something back to Braves Country, the BCR out of town crowd. I thought about writing a much broader one, and maybe I'll do it next year. I'll take a different theme and do it. But the first one, I wanted to do it for the idea was for people who haven't listened to it or seen the video. The idea is to never give up on your team. So even if you're a fan of the Phillies or Mets, God forbid, you can kind of understand where it's coming from. And I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but that's the gist of it. We got Stevie O in the chat, as was Brian. Is that Gilmore? Brian Gilmore? I don't know if that's somebody that used to be or somebody that was. But it's gotten so confusing because of what YouTube did to the names. Gary, good to see you. I thought I missed somebody. Kenneth, good to see you. And so anyways, Christmas Eve, if you're hanging out and you're going, damn, I haven't said hi to anybody, we'll all be in the chat, or folks will stop in and out of the chat. I'm not expecting people to sit in the chat all day long, but I'm trying to put enough Christmas clips that won't get banged by YouTube to be able to play in the background so that you can listen to Christmas music if you want as well, or you can just mute the damn thing and, hang out and, shoot the bull. Because not everybody gets to hang out with family on Christmas. Some people are in places where they're like, man, I can't get home. But to me, this has always become, the last few years, especially the last 2 or 3 years, and it's really it's a credit to all of y'all. This has become my home away from home. This channel, this chat, love every single one of y'all, and love seeing y'all happy and cheering each other. And I talk about it all the time with people, that we have a really unique channel and crowd, because we all become, and I know we're all not like besties. We're not all gonna tell each other our deepest and darkest secrets, God forbid. Yes, sometimes a few of us let it loose after a couple of cervezas, but typically we're going in, we're consuming the game, but also you constantly see people saying, how are you doing with this? How are you doing in school, Robert? How are you going through this ordeal or that ordeal? You name the person. And to me, that's the most special thing about this channel, this chat. So it's a credit to all of y'all who come in and with big hearts, open hearts, and welcome everybody in. All right, I'll go back to the baseball side of it before I start, tearing up like a big old sissy. The Braves, I'm just going to do these in chronological order real quick just to get caught up, and then we'll go into big pictures. So the Braves signed Yastrzemski. They signed Robert Suarez. Most of y'all know all this stuff, 3-year deal. So you got your setup man. You already had Iglesias, so you got the closer. And they can be interchangeable depending on who's hot and who's not, and also giving guys days off. The Marlins brought in Christopher Morel. And I think it's a pretty good signing by the Marlins, honestly. The Marlins have had a better offseason so far than the Mets have. I still think the Mets are going to add. But the Marlins, if I was going to make a pick right now, I'd say they'd finish third in the division. If the actual rosters were what they are today on opening day, but we all know that's not going to be the case. Cubs and Holby Milner came to an agreement. The Royals extended Michael Garcia. We talked about that during the baseball game last week. Reminder, tonight, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. to 8:15, I'm cutting it off. We're going to do Ronald Acuna Jr.'s Venezuelan baseball team, the Sharks. We're going to give you about 2 hours of the game, and then we're going to cut it off before the football game starts, because it's a pretty big game in the NFL, and there just won't be enough people in the chat to warrant it. So for those of y'all who don't watch football, I get it, but it's a pretty big football game, and I think 2 hours. Yeah, we bring you the game, but really those are for us to kind of shoot the bull about everything that's going on in the world of baseball as well. It's a lot easier for me to see your questions and comments during those games because I have more time to unpack them. Ryan Rollison, who the Braves put on waivers last week, White Sox claimed him. That's not a real big deal. Nationals and Josiah Gray agreed to a 1-year deal avoiding arbitration. So what's the next one on here? Danny Jansen, 2-year deal to the Rangers. I think we went over that, but that's once again not a very big deal because he's looked upon as a backup. But it is interesting that they gave him a two-year deal. I'm not going to lie about that. Tyler Anderson, 1-year deal with the Rangers. It seems like they are coupon clipping. I don't know if they're about to try to make a really big splash or if they're going to be very conservative this year, looking to see what it's going to be like next year after the new CBA. It's hard to tell with the Rangers because they've spent money in the past. So could they be going for a big splash like whether a Cody Bellinger or even bigger like a Kyle Tucker? I could see them bringing in Kyle Tucker. And are they doing all these little minor deals to try to cut and save over there? I felt like that was one of the reasons why they might have gotten rid of Simeon. Not because of the position, but because it saves them just a few dollars. Because when it's all said and done, you're still paying attention to the salary tax, even if you do have money like the Rangers do. Alexis Diaz, remember him? He jumped ship into the Braves country at the end of the year last year, and I was hoping we could hold on to him. Well, we ended up not offering him a contract, and he agreed to a 1-year, I believe it's a split contract with the Texas Rangers. So they're making little interesting moves, but they haven't had any big splashes other than the Nemo get. The Blue Jays. This was a pretty big one. 3 years, $37 million deal. Blue Jays fans who may not be familiar with Tyler Rogers, he's the right-handed version of the brothers. And he is the submarine pitcher, and he is filthy. He doesn't throw hard. So if he hangs one, it can be smacked. But he comes up from under much more than Gene Garber ever did for you Braves fans. And I'm just glad he's the hell out of the NL East because the rumors I had heard was that he was going to be signed by the Mets and the Phillies both had interest. And I just think he's very difficult. He's not a closer type, but he's a great setup man in certain spots against right-handers. If you hit a part of the lineup, let's say you're playing the Braves and you hit a part of the lineup where Riley and Acuna are on top of each other or within two of each other in the 7th inning in a game that's tied, that's when you would put a Tyler Rogers in there. Jorge Polanco, 2-year deal to the Mets, pretty good signing. Polanco, I mean, this is a cheap man's version. Now, if you're a Mets fan, you're not jumping up and down, but you're like, all right, at least we're bringing something in. But 2 years, $20 million compared to bringing Pete Alonso back, it's not even the same thing. Polanco had 26 home runs. I think he'll hit decently in that New York ballpark, and they'll probably try to score. I think it's going to be a platoon situation at first. They're going to have Polanco playing first against right-handers, and they'll have him probably DH against left-handers, maybe give him some days off. And someone like a Paul Goldschmidt will be brought in to face lefties. Amed Rosario did come back to the Yankees. Man, that is the one guy. I talked about it last year. That is the one guy that I always want to fall onto the Braves as a cheap pickup, and we never get him. This time he got scooped up a lot quicker because the Yankees know he's well undervalued. $2.5 million deal. And remember, the Braves still technically have one slot left open on their roster. That would have been phenomenal. I mean, you're talking about deep top to bottom, but he probably wanted more playing time. I don't know if we could have conned him into that. Dustin May, 1-year deal. I believe it was a 1-year deal. They don't have it listed here. With the Cardinals, that's an interesting grab by the Cardinals as they are doing a rebuild, but maybe they're hoping they can catch lightning in a bottle this year and get some cheaper deals, and maybe they can compete. If not, it could be a guy that if they're developing him this year and seeing good production, it could be a candidate to go ahead and extend him. You never know. Remember, Dustin May at one point, Dodgers organization, he was looked upon as the number 1, number 2, and number 3 prospect over different seasons. He was ranked up and down. For those of y'all who don't remember him, he's the one I used to call Sideshow Bob because his hair looks just like Sideshow Bob. Kenley Jansen, this is interesting. Kenley Jansen going to the Tigers, so he's a setup man essentially. 1-year deal, and he had a pretty good season out there in Angel Country. Isaac Collins, this shocked the hell out of me, but this tells me I don't think the Brewers believe that he is the end all that beats all. So they sold him at his apex, and they brought in they traded Collins and Mears for Angel Zerpa, which is a really good left-handed arm that the Brewers are brewing. That's what they always do. The Brewers keep brewing. They'll continue to move guys, and you'd be nuts to pick against the Brewers for the postseason next year. Don't think they'll go very far, but they always do this. They find a way. And what they're hoping is 1 year they'll kick in that door and the offense will all click 1 week and get themselves to the World Series. What was the next one? The Diamondbacks signed Merrill Kelly. This one kind of went under the radar with me. I didn't see it until the day after. I don't know why. See, it was done on the 14th. What day of the week is the 14th? It's Sunday. So I guess I had the NFL one, but I always have an MLB bottom line running. I did not see the Merrill Kelly signing until the next morning. 2 years, $40 million. That would have been a great pickup for the Braves. That would have been a great pickup for a lot of teams that are out there who are trying to get a formidable number 2, number 3 guy added to your roster. Now, he'd be a little further down the line on the Braves rotation, but that would just make you extremely deep. I still think the Braves are going to add a starter, but this might be a waiting game to see what's left and what guys aren't getting what they thought they were going to get, and they'll come back to the negotiation table. Josh Bell continues to find work. He signed a 1-year contract with a mutual option with the Twins. All right. If you say so, Twins. He has not done much of anything for a long time. And he's okay. To me, he's more of a bench piece. And he's a solid bench piece because he's a switch hitter. But he has zero athletic ability. He's about as the slowest man on the planet. Think of like Sid Bream type running, but he's never really been injured with his legs. He's just slow. He's tall. He's lean. You'd think he would be pretty fast. He's not. And his bat is not what it was. There was a time where Josh Bell was a feared force when he played with Pittsburgh, even his early years going over to Washington, but that's no longer the case. This is another one that went under the radar, and I'm a little surprised that they did not make a bigger deal about this one. Was the signing of the Philadelphia Phillies, and it was just a 1-year contract. Oh, gotcha, Brian. I just saw your comment. Sorry. But the Philadelphia Phillies, Adolis Garcia, 1-year, $10 million contract. Adolis Garcia had a down year. He's betting on himself. He's saying, I want to get a decent pay for this year, but I want to be able to hit the free agent market next year. Now, it's going to be a little tricky because the free agent market is going to be tricky because of the CBA. What does it get re-signed before the... If there's a God in the heavens, that thing will get resolved before we ever hit the offseason next year. But I don't think it's going to happen because I don't believe either side are willing to give what they're wanting to get. from each other. So, but Adolis Garcia, I'll be honest with you, I didn't love this. He's still a solid force. He's hit the Braves well over the years. Probably had one of the reasons why they brought him in. But we'll just see what Garcia's got left in the tank. He is in the he's not quite twilight of his career, so we're not at the sunset. But we'll say there's a 5 o'clock shadow on his career, so we'll see what they get out of him. Christian Pache goes to the Mets, and I laughed like hell when I saw this one. Because now the Mets just had the signing of Luke Weaver, but man, how many times has Christian Pache bounced around the National League East? I mean, with the Braves to the Phillies, I feel like a handful of times almost. And then, of course, he was in Miami. Christian Pache continues to find work, and it's a minor league contract on a split, so if he makes his way to the majors, et cetera, et cetera. But he's never shown that he has anything other than a pretty darn good glove. And I don't even think it's as elite as we first thought when we saw him come up. Christian Pache, he's one of the biggest, I won't call him a bust, but disappointments in recent memory in Braves country. I really thought he was going to be something. And when we traded him away, remember, he was a part of that whole deal that went to Oakland. He had kind of hit the skids, but you were hoping for the best. And when he went out there, I thought maybe he was going to be able to find himself and rejuvenate his career. Out in Oakland, it never happened. Of course, we went over this, the Ha-Seong Kim signing, 1 year, $20 million deal. If you missed that, basically he denied or turned down the player option for 16. He got himself an extra $4 million, and now he'll try to hit the market next year with a hopefully much better year. And all I can say to that is, great. If he ends up having a great year, you will have wished that we have signed him to a longer deal. But because he'll have this out in front of him, expect a very motivated Ha-Seong Kim to be as good as he can be offensively and defensively. And hopefully he comes into camp healthy and ready to roll. And that can only mean good things for the Braves in 2026. We do have I talked about this when we made the move. We do have the 3 shortstops that we made the trade for, that we drafted for. In the first 3 rounds, we drafted 3 shortstops in 2025 in June. One is a high school prospect. The other 2 are college kids that could come in and be ready to play by next year. You hope one of them can contribute. And they'll probably continue to monitor that situation before they think about extending Ha-Seong Kim. If they get him into minor league ball and you're like, I don't know, man, this kid's not going to be ready by 27. We're going to have to find out what we're going to do. Then there could be an aggressive offer by Anthopoulos at the deadline, at the trade deadline around that area, because he's been known to do that in the past. Remember the Michael Harris extension happened around that timeline. You've had a couple others that have happened in that timeline where the dust starts to settle and you start looking at, okay, we're around the trade deadline. We're starting to see what our team's going to look like next year. Maybe it's time to extend so-and-so. I think the priority is going to be to extend Chris Sale and then possibly extend Ha-Seong Kim. And we might get a Chris Sale extension before opening day. I don't think I've mentioned this on the air, but I did make a post in case you missed it. Opening day has been moved for your Atlanta Braves, and I'm not thrilled about it. I'm really not. Opening day, Atlanta Braves, is now been moved from Thursday, March 26th at 4 p.m., which I was incredibly excited for that to be our game. And now it has been moved to Friday, March 27th at 7:15 p.m. And I don't like any of it. I don't like the fact that opening day is a night game. There's something about an opening day game that I want it to be during the daytime. I just do. It's a little different if you're out on the West Coast because you're dealing with television issues and whatnot. You get a lot of your games locally around 7 o'clock on opening day, maybe a little earlier. But I'm very much in favor of opening day to be a day. Instead, they moved it to opening night. So we're going to be one of the few teams. Hell, we might be the only team now because a couple other teams have moved some stuff around. But Braves and Royals, I think, might be the only two teams that aren't playing on opening day. Other than San Francisco, New York, but they're getting their opening night on Wednesday. Then opening day is going to be the full slate on Thursday, and then we're going to play on Friday. There are a handful of other games on Friday the 27th, because typically what happens, as most baseball fans know, you do the opening day on Thursday, you're off Friday, and you're back at it on Saturday. Instead, they're not going to have that, and that's another reason why I don't like it, because the reason why you have the day off after opening day is because usually there's a celebration, and there's dinners, and there's all this kind of stuff that goes on. There's parties, and then that way you don't have to play the next day. Let's be honest, these guys are young guys, wake up with a skull ripper, and you got to play the next day, and you're like, oh, God, here we go. Now we will have to, so we'll have no break in the action, and I just do not love the fact that they moved it on us. But nothing we can do about it except adjust. What we are planning on doing is a doubleheader opening day, an out-of-town doubleheader. And I believe Cleveland-Seattle will be our second game. That is a 10 o'clock game, and I believe that's what we're going to do. I have to double-check the sports calendar, but I think the game plan is going to be give you an early game, take a break, and come back for the late game. In all likelihood, I believe that that's going into, typically, you have college basketball going on. I think that's probably Sweet 16. So what you would have is you'll have a day game, and we're looking at it right now. We just haven't made it 100% sure, but right now we're leaning where it's going to be Red Sox Reds at 4, and then Cleveland Seattle at 10. Because I like to have the break after doing these games last year. It's good to have the 2-hour, 3-hour break in between to rest the pipes. As was you're a Cleveland fan, right? Or do I have that mixed up? I get everybody confused sometimes unless we're doing the game. So I believe we're going to do Cleveland is at Seattle, and I believe that's going to be game number 2. So we'll keep you updated, but as soon as I know it, probably before we do the next show, I'll put a show card up for it. We've already moved opening day for the Braves show card. See what else we have in here. Adrian Hauser. I was disappointed about this one. I thought he'd be a perfect fit for the Braves. Adrian Hauser, a 2-year, $22 million deal. It's a perfect guy to have in the back of your rotation that can go out and give you solid starts. And then also he has the experience in the bullpen to be able to come out into October and be a swing man or come in and just, get you 2 innings, because let's say the entire rotation is fine in the middle of the year. Adrian Hauser is a perfect guy to go out there and do like an opener's role, eventually work him into the bullpen, but you can start him out in the rotation, and depending on how you want to play it out, you could almost go with the 6-man rotation if they get someone like him. But there's still some guys out there on the market. Where's the other one at? Reds signed Caleb Ferguson, left-hander. Not a big get, but interesting move by the Reds. Drew Pomerantz has a 1-year, $4 million deal to the Angels. Angels also signed Jordan Romano to a 1-year, $2 million deal. Man, how the mighty have fallen. Remember when Jordan Romano was brought into Philadelphia from Toronto, and he was looked upon as one of the top closers in the game, top 10 closers in the game. I don't think he was ever top 5. And he just fell off a cliff. So he's trying to reestablish his value. Brad Keller, 2-year deal to go to the Phillies, and that's a little concerning because that was one of the guys a lot of people in Braves country had circled as a guy they wanted. 2.07 ERA. He's a relief guy at this point. Started off as a starter, but I would think that the Phillies are going to use him for relief. I don't believe they're going to try to push him in the rotation, but we'll see what happens. They may have dangled that carrot. And of course, Luke Weaver, once again, 2-year deal, $22 million deal with the Mets. And that was that's one of the better moves that the Mets have made all offseason. But I was listening to some Mets guys. I think it was yesterday, and they had and I found their podcast because I was laughing at their TikTok video and he was being serious, but the guy was saying, he goes, I keep seeing these projections where they're putting Marcus Semien number 2 in the lineup, and I'm telling you right now, if that's the case, we're done and he's right. Marcus Semion's not a number 2. He's not a 2-hole hitter anymore in his career. Now, he said number 7. I think he's more of a 6, maybe a 5 in the right situation. But he's still not a guy you can put right behind Soto. Here's the biggest question if you're thinking about this from a Mets trying to build the lineup. If they don't sign another big bat, who do you put behind Juan Soto so you didn't just pay him $768 million to be walked 150, 200 times a year? Because if they don't put someone in behind him, that's all you're going to do, and rightfully so. Let's say Lindor finds a way to get on base. He gets to second base, and he's hemming and hawing and ready to rock. And the next thing you know, he's up at second base. So let's say Lindor, he could have possibly hit a double, but let's say you get him to second base for whatever reason. And there's 1 out, 2 outs, doesn't matter. And you got Soto batting third, and he comes up to the plate. You're going to walk him. You're going to walk him if Simeon's right behind him. You're going to walk him if anyone, because you no longer have that protective blanket that was Pete Alonso. And if you're wondering why the Mets are having such a weird and strange offseason, considering the fact they have all this money and willing to spend, it's because David Stearns, the general manager for the Mets, came from the Brewers, and all the Mets fans are saying this, and I kind of believe what they're saying, especially the media guys, that he has this "I'm smarter than you" kind of vibe, that I know stuff that you don't know, and always thinks that he's the smartest guy in the room, and he's outsmarting himself. There is a report that the Mets offered Edwin Diaz 3 years, $66 million. If this is even remotely true, I'd fire Stearns' ass right now. 3 years, $66 million. And he said he wanted $69 million, so $1 more million a year, $23 million. I don't know what his reasoning. Maybe it's because the qualifying offer is 22, and he feels like he should get paid more than at least the qualifying offer. And maybe he has that in his head of that's the way it needs to be. And they said, we'll see if anyone will offer you that, come back to us. The Dodgers offered him that, and he took the deal. And the Mets got upset because he didn't come back. You have your guy that you made a trade for, so he's been there for a while, so he's essentially almost a homegrown guy. He's not a homegrown guy, but you did give up prospects. In fact, Jared Kelenic was a part of that deal that sent Diaz to Seattle, and Kelenic went to Seattle from the Mets, then eventually ended up in Atlanta, and now is a free agent. But you have what is basically a homegrown guy walk out of your park when you're supposed to be big money, and somehow, some way, you get outbid by your biggest competitor as far as who's going to stop you from getting the World Series. Everybody in the National League's looking at the Dodgers, right? Back-to-back champs. You get outbid by $1 million a year. That is pocket change for Steve Cohen and the Mets. They've had the highest payroll last several years. And maybe they want to dial it back a little bit, but $1 million a year, excuse me, for the best closer in the game, when healthy and when rolling, it's just insane. It's absolutely insane. Let me get into the chat here and see what we got here going on. If anybody's got any questions or comments, I'm going to scroll back a little bit, but then I'll come back to you. Let me see what we got here on the chat. All right. Get this thing. Okay, here we go. All right. So, and as far as like the Braves pitchers that I think they're going to end up with, I think there's a very good chance that we end up kicking the tires on some of these starting pitchers that I'm still very interested, and he might be setting the market. I'm interested to see where Lucas Giolito ends up at. I'm interested to see where Shota Imanaga ends up at. And not that the Braves necessarily are on him and Framber Valdez. It's not necessarily that the Braves are in on them, but it'll affect the market on how the other guys are paid. But the Braves right now, you can't be anything but thrilled with what they've done in the offseason. So let me see what we got. I'm going to scroll back just a little bit and see how far we can go here. All right, this is trying to scroll through and not just read random comments. Do the Braves need to get a batter or pitcher? So the bats are done, Gary. I mean, where the hell are you going to put one? I guess in theory you could go out and get a power hitter from the right side, and you could treat the DH position as such with the lefty. Maybe you could re-sign Ozuna at a very cheap rate, but I don't think he wants to come back if he's not the everyday DH. You feel me? Unless he just has no other options. But I think right now what you're looking at is if we know the starters to be true, and I won't go through all of them, but you know who the starters are at every position, with Kim now as the shortstop, and Murphy as your catcher, and Baldwin as your DH. Dubon is sitting on the bench. He can go anywhere, right? Eli White sitting on the bench. He can play all over the outfield, and he actually can play second and first. We saw that last year. And then Yastrzemski is another corner outfielder. You don't have a lot of needs other than the best available guy you can put at the end of that bench. If he was still out there, you could easily see an argument for keeping a guy like Nick Allen just for base running. So we'll see what they do, and they may do something like that and do nothing but bring in a speedster. But there's a lot of, a guy like Nacho Alvarez, they're probably going to want to keep him on the farm so he gets regular reps. But someone gets hurt, you're going to bring him back up. And you know you're going to take a big offensive dump when that happens. But he does give you depth. He could also be a part of a trade. The Braves are going to add one more pitcher, probably a starting pitcher. Okay? But even with that being said, I don't know how aggressive they're going to be on that if it's the free agent market. Or think about this. The Braves have saved so much capital not having to move a bunch of prospects because they went out and actually spent money on the free agent market. Now some of your prospects you could move to get that upgrade in the starting rotation. I still think they want to move some money, or excuse me, move some players in, whether it's money or it's free trades, to bolster the bullpen a little bit more. You might add one or two more arms, but I don't think it's anything significant. Robert Suarez and Raisel Iglesias, those were the two big pieces to get. I mean, I'm greedy. I would have liked to have Kenley Jansen in the sixth, et cetera, et cetera. Rogers come in, but that's neither here nor there. They've signed in their places, and away we go. But I would like to see more depth, because we've seen this year after year after year. You can't have enough arms. But I do believe they're going to add one more starting pitcher. And you've got guys that are out there who are interesting grabs. And when I'm looking at the market AAV value, will they dumb this down? Here we go. The cheapest options. I don't want a Max Scherzer or an Eric Fetty, right? We saw what they're capable of. I'd rather go internal if that's going to be the solution. But a Chris Bassett, I'm not big on Savali just because a couple of the stunts that he's pulled, the prima donna stuff, I'm not a big fan of his. Brandon Woodruff, to me, is interesting. But how long of a deal is he wanting at 33 years old? I mean, that would be an outstanding get. They're saying his AAV is 18 million, 17 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. Same thing with Imanaga. Like, those would be elites. They keep bouncing around the idea that Zach Gallen, I don't see it. Lucas Giolito, I think he's going to return to the Red Sox, and he's going to get paid handsomely. Michael King, remember, he's got the qualifying offer along with Ranger Suarez and Framber Valdez. And because they have those qualifying offers, those guys, I'm not going to say they're untouchable for Atlanta, but we're not likely to sign Valdez, Suarez, or King. Of those three, who would I want? I would want Suarez, because we haven't been able to hit him, and it's always nice to bring in a younger lefty. Framber Valdez has been outstanding, but he's going to expect $30 million. He's 33 years old. Or 32 years old. I want nothing to do with him. The next tier, I'm not a big fan of Zach Gallen. I've seen him enough over the years. When he first came on, he was impressive. Now, I think he's kind of a guy who's going to be overpaid. He's still going to be a solid starting pitcher, but I don't think he's going to. Think what the money that was wasted on Aaron Nola by Philly, and he's got less of a repertoire, but that's where I put him at. Zach Eflin is an interesting one. I'm still a big Chris Bassett guy just because of what I saw him do in the pen and willingness to work out of the pen in the postseason. I don't hate that at all, but he is 37 years old on opening day. Nick Martinez, same thing, very good pitcher, but he's 35. What's he really expecting? But I don't want Cortez. He's a junk pitcher. I don't want Fetty. We saw that nonsense. I don't want Max Scherzer because he's pretty much dead to me after what he did during the CBA. Not to mention he was a damn National and a Met, and I don't want anything to do with that. Justin Verlander is going to stay in California, I'm almost positive. I mean, Verlander would be outstanding. If he wanted to go chase a ring with this, fair enough. But does he want to come to Georgia when his life is in California? And Tyler Mahle to me is interesting, but how long of a deal does he want? Same thing with Patrick Corbin. Same thing with to me one of the smartest moves they can make once again. They're just trying to be frugal. Is Jose Quintana. He's expected to draw about a little over $3 million a year, and he's going to eat innings. Or do you take a risk, a flyer on Jordan Montgomery, and hope that he can get back to the 2023 Jordan Montgomery at 33 years old? It's very possible, but What is he willing to do? Any of these guys, you want to sign them to a 1-year deal? We're not trying to build our team around it. All right, now let me get back to the comments, see if anybody's in here commenting about what's actually going on. What is Iron? Couple of years. Oh, just a couple of years ago, Jimenez and Iglesias were locked down. I expect Iglesias to be locked down like he was at the end of last year, and I expect Jimenez to be a very viable. It's going to be a 1-2-3 punch in the back of that bullpen with the right-handers. And don't forget, Bummer comes back to 5th inning guy, right? And Dylan Lee, very capable of going up there in the later innings to face tough lefties. I think they would love to add one more tough lefty, but, man, they just don't grow on trees. That's the problem. By the way, One Iron Stevio, you might want to check out that though 'Twas the Night Before Braves Country Christmas if you haven't checked it out already. What you'll understand is that at the beginning, the way it was written, we had a very generic idea of the manager, and when I changed it to Snicker, the rest we ended up using all the other names of the past. And anyways, Snicker was because I thought about the people guys like One Iron Stevia, guys that really enjoy baseball, but also they were big Snicker fans. And so I was like, okay, even though I wasn't a big Snicker fan, you still got to give him credit the fact of how long he was with the actual Braves organization. And he did win a World Series. So long story short, when I changed the name to Snicker, and because before it was just all Skipper, and I was like, hell, that's rhyming with Snicker anyways. We might as well go with it. At that point, I was like, all right. And then the whole John has seen it, so he knows what I'm talking about with the whole Snicker taking a nap and all that kind of stuff. I had a lot of fun writing it, but it was hard work putting the whole thing together. If nobody else has any other questions or comments about the free agency, and not just Braves, but whoever the hell you follow, more than welcome to entertain those too. Someone who's I'll be interesting to see who the hell brings these guys back, but you have some guys at the very bottom that at one point were big names, Alex Cobb, John Means, but they've had major injuries and they've never been quite the same. There is no Marcus Stroman. How about that? I always forget Marcus Stroman's at the bottom. Does Marcus Stroman get recreated as a reliever? The only thing I can say is I don't want anything to do with Marcus Stroman. I don't like his personality. He was a jackass everywhere that he went. I think he's a cancer in the locker room. All right, we'll get out of here. No show next week because of Christmas. Now, if news pops, big news, whether it's Braves or not, we'll jump on. But this is usually a pretty quiet week in Major League Baseball. And if we see one big move made and it's during like a weird time like Christmas Eve, Christmas night or whatever, then we may wait till the next day and put it all together. But I'll create another show card that just says if breaking news hits, just so that you know. I mean, we're here for the Braves, but we're here for all of Major League Baseball. They keep talking about, I don't get this. They keep talking about the Padres possibly trading Mason Miller. Why the hell would they do that? They just let Robert Suarez go, and they gave up a ton to get Mason Miller last year. You either have to get a ton back or people just need to shut the F up and realize he's good. This is that thing where the writers who are fans of their teams, they do that thing in sports where they say, well, you probably won't win the World Series this year, so you might as well sell off so you can help our team. That's not their job to help your team. Their job is to put butts in the seats of their individual stadiums and realize you don't sell a guy low, you sell him high. All right, we'll see y'all next time. Merry Christmas. We will have the chat up on Christmas Eve. I think we'll probably start around noon because I'm having folks over around that time, and I don't want to forget. So it might be a tad before, but around noon we'll start the chat up. And once again, it's just going to be Christmas music so that people can say hi to each other here on this channel. I'm not going to worry about putting it on the Armchair. We'll just put it on this channel. And y'all have a great Christmas, and we'll see you tonight. For those of y'all who want to jump into the Acuna's Venezuelan baseball game, the Sharks are back at it. I think it's 6 p.m. I have to double check that. It's either 5:30 or 6. All their games start at that time. And we're going to go till about 8:15 so that y'all can watch your football. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing Bama, Oklahoma right here on the channel. Play-by-play, radio style, just like we do with baseball. We're doing Bama, Oklahoma for the college football playoffs. And we may do some other football games down the road, but that's the only one we have scheduled for this week in this round of the college football world. Y'all have a great one, and Merry Christmas, and I should see you before the New Year's. The next slot of these shows, Braves Country today and Armchair QB today, that happens on the other channel the hour before, those will be on New Year's Eve, same bat time, same bat channel, because New Year's Day is a Thursday, and I ain't waking up with the Skull Ripper to talk about nothing. We'll see ya! Saturday, December 13th, 3 p.m. Eastern, it's the annual battle, the Army-Navy game in Baltimore, Maryland. Braves Country Radio will bring it to you live from coast to coast and around the globe. A salute to all the men and women who have served and continue to serve this great nation. This year will be the 126th meeting between the Army Black Knights and the Navy Midshipmen. Join us live and we'll bring you play-by-play of America's game, Army versus Navy. 8 of the last 11 matchups being decided by one score, including the double overtime thriller in 2022. It's Army-Navy. We are Army. Navy Army. America's game, heard around the world.